Arab Spring News: Rebels is committing human rights violations in Libya. It's Arab Spring time in Libya, homes burnt to the ground, beatings, looting, and all under the cover of the Western military intervention and massive bankrolling that you didn't ask for. Libyan rebel forces have been responsible for looting, arson and the abuse of civilians in their push toward Tripoli, Human Rights Watch alleged on Wednesday. The group said it witnessed some of these acts, interviewed witnesses to others, and spoke with the rebel commander about the abuses. The abuses were said to have taken place in June and July, as recently as last week, as rebel forces pushed through the Nafusa Mountains to the south of Tripoli. In 4 towns captured by rebels in the Nafusa Mountains over the past month, rebel fighters and supporters have damaged property, burned some homes, looted from hospitals, homes, and shops, and beaten some individuals alleged to have supported government forces, said HRW. The allegations threaten to undermine the rebels' carefully guarded image as the Arab Spring champions of human rights in a country that has been run by Muammar Gaddafi with an iron fist for nearly 42 years. The revelations could also raise difficult questions for NATO countries, who have provided military support to the rebels as part of a UN-mandated mission to protect Libyan civilians. France earlier this month admitted air-dropping weapons to rebels in the Nafusa Mountains, raising the hackles of Russia and others critical of NATO's operations. The rebel authorities have a duty to protect civilians and their property, especially hospitals, and discipline anyone responsible for looting or other abuse, said the organization's Jost Talk. The group said locals reported at least one person was shot in the foot by rebel soldiers. The rebel commander in the region, named by Human Rights Watch as Colonel El Mokhtar Fernana, was quoted as admitting some abuses had taken place and that some fighters or supporters had been punished. If we hadn't issued directives, people would have burned these towns down to the ground, HRW quoted him as saying. In the rebel stronghold of Benghazi, the National Transitional Council on Tuesday did not respond formally to questions about whether abuses may have taken place. Human Rights Watch said 2 of the towns in question were home to a tribe close to Gaddafi. Al-Awaniya and Zawat al-Bagil are home to members of the Meshia tribe, known for its loyalty to the Libyan government and Muammar Gaddafi, the group said. Libyan rebels in the Nafusa Highlands are currently preparing to advance toward the capital, eyeing the town of Asuba as their next stop after capturing a string of hamlets. This will be the most important battle of the Nafusa Mountains, rebel commander Walbracken told AFP at the front. This is the last town before Garian and it is full of armed Gaddafi supporters. Since guerrillas took the village of Walish on Wednesday, 17 kilometers, 11 miles, from Asuba, they have been awaiting NATO airstrikes that will clear their way for an advance. French and Libyan officials meanwhile have talked up the chances of negotiating Gaddafi's withdrawal from power and an end to the conflict tracking his country, after months of military stalemate. Gaddafi's prime minister told a French daily the embattled regime was ready to begin talks with Paris and Libyan rebels without preconditions and without the interference of its authoritarian guide. France, which has spearheaded the Western diplomatic and military response to the crisis, confirmed it is in indirect talks to bring the fighting to an end and to smooth Gaddafi's departure. A political solution in Libya is more vital than ever and it is beginning to take shape, Prime Minister François Fillon told MPs before the National Assembly and later the Senate both voted to extend France's role in military action. The guide will not take part in these discussions. Everything must be open, Libyan Prime Minister Baghdadi al-Mahmoudi told France's Le Figaro newspaper, in an interview conducted in Tripoli and published Tuesday. "We are ready to negotiate unconditionally," he said, although he called on NATO to halt airstrikes. "We simply want a stop to the bombardments so that one can talk in a serene atmosphere. We cannot talk as bombs rain down." A NATO spokesman however said that bombing would continue, even through the holy Muslim fasting month of Ramadan in August, so long as Gaddafi's forces attack civilians. Mahmoud Shamam, spokesman for the rebel National Transitional Council, NTC, told AFP the revolutionaries would only respond to serious initiatives that include the departure from power of Gaddafi and his sons. He said Bashar Saleh, a Gaddafi ally, had approached France to propose the strongman step down but remain in Libya under international supervision, but that Gaddafi's influential son Saif al-Islam had vetoed the idea. In a sign of continued tensions, Libyan government spokesman Moussa Ibrahim said Tripoli regretted the French parliament vote to prolong the country's military intervention. "We regret the vote of French elected officials. We had hoped representatives of the French people consider the situation in Libya in a realistic way, ignoring the lies of the government and media," Ibrahim told AFP. France has previously insisted military action will continue until Gaddafi quits power, but, with the costly campaign now 4 months old, Paris appears ready to talk. "We're no supporters of the old Arab dictators, Mubarak, Assad, Gaddafi. To a man they are narcissistic, sociopathic thieves who have repressed and abused their populations relentlessly, while siphoning millions into offshore private bank accounts for their own use. But what are they being replaced with?" The Western media has become dewy-eyed with admiration for these so-called rebels, presenting a romantic image of youthful idealism looking to rebuild these countries into something approximating liberal democracies, while dancing around relevant, burning questions such as who is behind them, who is funding and organizing them, and most importantly, who will be running things when it's all over. The answer to all those questions so far appears to be that shadowy Islamist groups such as the Muslim Brotherhood are positioning themselves to exploit the so-called Arab Spring. And if this story is anything to go by, these so-called Arab Spring rebels may be reverting to type, even before they get their hands on the levers of power.